Welcome, and thank you for attending today's webinar, supported by Seminar Web and sponsored by the Wisconsin Society of Association Executives. Now you can click the Q&A button to ask questions about our presentation or report any technical issues that you may have, and we also welcome you to comment or discuss the presentation with your colleagues by utilizing the chat feature. Our webinar today is Overcoming Gen AI Frustrations and Challenges for Associations. Our speaker today is Dr. Gleb Tsipursky. He has been called the Office Whisperer by the New York Times, and he helps association leaders transform AI hype into real-world results. He serves as the CEO of the Future of Work consultancy, Disaster Avoidance Experts. Dr. Gleb wrote 7 best-selling books, including ChatGPT for Leaders and Content Creators, Unlocking the Potential of Generative AI. His expertise comes from over 20 years of consulting, coaching, and speaking and training. It also comes from over 15 years in academia as a behavioral scientist, with 8 years as a lecturer at UNC Chapel Hill and 7 years as a professor at Ohio State. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the program over to our speaker, and thank you all again so much for joining us today.
Thank you for that kind introduction, Matt, and welcome everyone. So, let's talk a little bit about making good decisions on overcoming generative AI frustrations and challenges for associations. Going to share my screen, so you should all be able to see my slides right now. Now, what I'll be talking about is both the broad principles of generative AI adoption and overcoming challenges, and some specific case studies and examples, actual examples, real life examples of how you can use generative AI as an association professional. Now, you might have seen my articles for ASAE on this topic for the American Society of Association Executives. I just had Associations Now, their magazine, just published my, I want to say, sixth article in their specialized series of articles that I'm writing for them on AI adoption for associations. So you might want to check that out if you haven't seen it yet. So just something that might be of interest to you. Now, Matt already gave my background, and just I want to add that in terms of helping associations, I often work with associations on AI adoption for themselves internally and for their members. And the article that was just published by Associations Now was specifically for their members. So we ran for the American Society of Non-Destructive Testing. I ran a conference workshop, 2-day conference workshop, where we started with some registered attendees. So this is a track within the that people have to register for. And first, it started with a training on AI usage, customized for the members of non-destructive testing professionals, that industry. Then, over the next several hours after the workshop, which was about 2 hours, then we spent about several hours actually building AI tools. So the people in the workshop were building AI tools, and I was providing hands-on coaching. And we did some of that the second day as well. And then the afternoon of the second day, we did a conference presentation. So presentation at the conference itself on the main floor, the expo floor, where people sat in the audience and the teams that were building the AI tools themselves competed. And the top team, and they were judged, evaluated by judges, and then the top team got a prize, and they got free registration to next year's conference. And of course, they came up with a great tool. And so that's an example in terms of thinking about innovative AI education for conferences. ASNT, American Society for Non-Destructive Testing, got a lot of benefit from that in terms of being a thought leader for their members. So you want to think about how you can do innovative hands-on AI education for your members, and we can talk about that. But I'm going to focus in this presentation on how you can use AI internally for associations, which I've worked with a lot, including ASNT, other associations, on how to adopt AI tools effectively. So that's the context from which I'm coming, and that's the context into which I'll be speaking. So members are increasingly expecting hyper-personalized AI-assisted experiences with you providing these experiences. And they can definitely get it if you use AI tools effectively. For-profit competitors are, of course, gaining great competitive advantages from AI insights, and associations are risking a lot. I've seen associations be slower to get into AI tools than corporations, but that's not great because the employees, the people who are working and who are your members, they're experiencing one thing in their corporations and another thing with their associations. So they're risking serious relevance, revenue, and retention issues without strategic AI adoption. And in terms of revenue generation, for example, that sort of workshop that I described is a great opportunity for sponsorship revenue. Sponsors really like to sponsor these kinds of workshop tracks because then they become positioned as future forward sponsors. So revenue, and of course, you can get members to sign up and pay registration fees for such workshops. So these are just revenue generation. Now, another example of the revenue generation is what ASNT did on their website. So I mentioned the American Society for Non-Destructive Testing. So they have an AI tool on their website. Let me share my screen so I can show you what they're doing. So this is the American Society for Non-Destructive Testing, my client, and this is a tool that is an artificial intelligence assistant. So you can get the basic tool and ask questions. So for example, method for non-destructive testing of a weld or something like that. Content guidelines. Okay. So, okay, yes, I forgot. So you have to sign in to their website because you're currently using the free limited version of Anita. So when you sign into their website, the Anita Pro Plus membership, you would get answers to these types of questions. But otherwise, you have limited access. So that's kind of a way of generating tools, generating website benefits from like revenue generation, actual revenue generation from using AI tools as an example. So let's see what it says about writing a haiku about NDT. So here is a haiku about NGT. So obviously relevant, but not like super relevant. Then if you ask it a more complex questions, it will say log in for the full unrestricted access to Anita, and it will give you actually good, valuable information there. So that's an example. Okay, back to the content of the presentation, but I just want to tell you about in terms of revenue generation. And of course, that helps retain current members who have full access to Anita so that they don't lose access to this tool. And so that is an example of a tool that you can build for something like you should be able to build it with a one-time build for something like maybe $10,000 if you don't put in too much sweat equity. So I can help you build that for $10,000. For if you put in more sweat equity yourself, you can build a tool yourself. If you figure out, just take the time to research and learn how to build these sorts of tools, and then you can build these sorts of tools yourself. But that takes learning. And so you can choose to do that, or you can choose to get an outside vendor. And an outside vendor, that's a product that they will charge something like about $50,000 a year for, versus you building it yourself using no code, low code tools by learning how to use these tools. Or you can have a facilitator like myself or somebody else teach you how to use these tools and build this kind of tool for something like $10,000 or so. And so here is the kind of things that you want to be thinking about practically and pragmatically in terms of revenue, retention, and relevance, because it definitely improves your relevance to members and improves the revenue you get and the membership retention if you provide them with these sorts of helpful tools. The typical blockers for associations, what I've seen when I work with associations is that the data tends to be locked in silos, and you need to unlock that to build tools like Anita, which are trained on all of NDT's information, on all the non-destructive testing information. Sorry for jargon. So the data is locked in silos with unclear ownership and weak governance. Staff can be anxious about skills, roles, accountability. So, for example, with this Anita tool, staff might feel threatened that they're getting less questions, questions about their expertise with NDT, so staff members. Pilots might be detached from your strategy, your KPIs, key performance indicators, your budgets. So you definitely want to be thinking about that. And vendor hype hides true cost, risk, and timeline. So, for example, the vendors that are offering you the tool for $50,000 per year, that is very expensive. And that is not how much it actually costs them to build the tool, not how much it should cost you to build this sort of tool. Okay, so let's talk about how to implement AI tools for associations. So let's talk about some underlying principles. Now, you want to diagnose pains that you're experiencing. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention, if you have any questions, put them into the chat. Questions, comments, something you want me to answer along the way, put them into the chat and I will be able to comment on them during breaks in the presentation. So please go ahead, do that. Happy to answer questions. Some of them I'll say I'll answer later in the presentation. Some of them I can answer right away. So the first point, the first step, diagnose the pain. So identify friction points in your processes and map member and staff journeys to figure out where AI can deliver the most value. So that's going to be important. Then here's a case study snapshot with a National Insurance Association I worked with that added 12 renewal points and slashed turnaround times in 90 days. So it had over 50,000 members and 30 staff, including foreign marketing. The targets were over 12 renewals and 50% faster content with airtight data controls. The pain points identified were manual event search, 14-day article creation cycle and approval, and so on, generic renewal emails, 72-hour CE certificate backlog. So we found three hotspots of serious issues: event search, article production, and certificate processing. That, for example, certificate processing spent 191 staff hours per year that don't have to be spent that way. So here's a prompt that you can use with an AI tool to help you address this. Use this prompt to identify process friction points and potential AI opportunities. So this is something that you would put into a customized AI tool, this prompt. Act as an association process analyst. Map every step from first visit to renewal. Highlight friction points, estimate time lost at each step, and flag tasks that a large language model could streamline. Present a two-column table, pain point and AI opportunity. So here is an AI tool that I developed for an association that you can see here in the top left corner. There are going to be a number of tools. One of them is the Association Management Assistant. And so this is built within Gemini, which is one of the large language models that's quite good. And what this tool does is it helps the association make better decisions about AI usage. And so here is the prompt, the user prompt that you put in, the one I already read. Let's see what the AI responds. So the user prompt is the text that you put in. Then you have the AI response. It's saying, below, pleasure to serve as your association management assistant. Below is a comprehensive process audit of the member journey. So here is the member journey process map. First visit discovery with pain points, generic website content failing to address specific member niches. AI opportunity is deploy a membership match chatbot that queries the visitor's goals and recommends specific member tiers or resources. And time loss here is high bounce rates, with staff spending about 5 hours per week manually answering, "Is this for me?" emails, which you don't have to do. Application approval. So pain is the manual verification of credential or employer status. Time loss is 15 to 30 minutes per application administrative review. AI opportunity. You can automate document verification using optical character recognition to cross-reference uploaded credentials against regulatory databases. Then you talk about onboarding, the pain, one-size-fits-all, welcome emails lead to low engagement. Time loss is high, silent churn risks if members don't find it satisfying. Value 90 days. AI opportunity is use generative AI to create personalized onboarding paths based on the interest selected during the application process. Then value consumption daily with information overload, missing relevant webinars or white papers. So you can implement a recommendation engine to suggest context based on behavior. You have pains of high friction points in scheduling and minute taking for volunteer leaders. You can use AI transcription to draft initial meeting minutes, action item logs, and summaries of the board packet. And the time losses here is 2 to 3 hours per meeting for prep, facilitation, documentation. Then the renewal cycle is manual outreach to unresponsive members and chasing failed payments. So 20 plus hours of loss during peak renewal months for small to mid-staff teams. And so you have an AI opportunity of predictive analytics to flag at-risk members for each manual intervention by the board. And so these are the kinds of issues that we're talking about as something that the AI can identify, help you identify, and then help develop. So here's operational risk assessment as part of this, so data silos. This is an issue between AMS, LMS, email marketing tool with a governance lag, and strategic recommendations are auditing frequently asked questions in Box. This can train a simple AI knowledge base that can handle a great deal of tier one member support. Then you can transition from monthly blast newsletters to an AI curated digest that pulls content relevant to the specific member's job function and implement a church prediction model. So at this stage, I see that somebody asked the questions. So somebody asks, did the prompt read your website to generate this advice? Or is this giving a manual for best practice, but not customized to the organization? So let's take a look at this tool. You should be able to see my screen now. So this is the tool, the Association Management Assistant. And let's see how it was developed. So it's a general association management assistant. What I did for that association was I customized it to that association. But of course, it's their tool. I can't access it from my backend. So what I do for my clients is just as a demo, I develop a tool saying, hey, this is what the tool does, and then we'll customize it to your organization. But this is the association management assistant, the one that you saw responding. So you are Association Management Assistant, an expert virtual operations partner for professional associations, membership organizations. You help staff and volunteer leaders plan, run, improve, and document every aspect of association management. Mission, reduce operational burden, increase member value, and so on. Identify risks early. Operating principles. Act as a capable association, executive director as chief of staff. Organize, proactive, detail-oriented, calm under pressure. Prefer clarity, targeted questions. So scope of support, membership and customer service, then events and education, all of this good stuff, governance and committees, finance administration, marketing, communications and publications, sponsorship and revenue, partnerships, technology and systems, how you work, clarify the ask as needed, produce deliverables. So it can produce meeting agendas of minute drafts, decision logs, action registers, project time plans, timelines, runbooks, policies, charters, SOPs, checklists, templates, email drafts, web copies, scripts, call guides, FAQs, budgets, assumption lists, scenario options, and conceptual KPI dashboards. And so think about how much time you spend doing all of that and how much this can help with that. And I'll provide some examples of how it can do so. Provide next steps, communication style, boundaries and safety, confidentiality, privacy, handling exceptions, standardized template plans that you can offer, membership renewal and retention plan board, playbook, association operating plan, conference project plan, run of show, and so on. All of this good stuff that you're spending a bunch of time doing. Now, when you so you would customize this to each individual association. This is called the system prompt, by the way. So this is the information in the back end of a custom fine-tuned model that you can create using Gemini. You can create it using Copilot. You can create it using within Copilot, Copilot Studio, using ChatGPT. It's called a GPT there. Within Claude Anthropic, it's called an artifact. Those are the four big companies that associations should be using. You shouldn't be using anything else. I recommend you don't use Grok. I recommend you don't use any Chinese models. Those are the four companies you should be using, and all of this is available in the back end of each one. So this is one component, the system prompt. This is the instructions that you give to the tool to create the kind of output that you saw earlier. And then here in the knowledge base, you would put your associations documents, all of the internal documents about your associations, what you do, your FAQs, everything relevant to your association, so that the tool now has your knowledge and understands how to do things and how to respond in a customized way to your association. So this is a tool that would, this tool probably would take something like around, for my time, it would take around maybe to customize it to each association would take maybe about 15 hours. And my rate is 585 an hour, 585 an hour. So that's something like around 7 to 8,000 just to create this sort of tool that would be extremely helpful in terms of doing that. But of course, you don't have to. I'm being very clear that you don't in any way have to hire me. This is just my experience working with associations. And you can learn how to do this yourself and then develop this tool yourself. Okay, somebody asks, why not use Grok? The reason to not use Grok is that it doesn't have it doesn't have good guardrails. So it can often, it can often go off the rails and give you answers that are not reliable and professional in an association context or any business context that I guess doesn't have to do with Tesla or X. The only thing that you should be using Grok for is when you're working with X. So Grok is not a tool that I recommend for business usage just because the guardrails are not there. Okay. So hopefully that clarified things. Again, ask me questions as we go along. Let's talk about step 2, surfacing root causes of AI adoption resistance, skills gaps, process gaps, and mindset gaps. One is that folks who do content, in general, what I've seen association folks do who are starting with using AI is treating it like Google, looking for knowledge, looking for answers. That's not the way that you should be treating it. Another is a process gap, unclear handoffs between education, marketing, IT. So there's going to be friction at those boundaries. Mindset gap is that there's fear of job replacement and black box anxiety. So that is definitely a series of issues. Now, with the skills gap, I just showed you how you can develop a tool customized to your specific association with your specific association's knowledge base. And I'll be happy to talk to, as part of this presentation, I'll be offering free coaching to anyone who is interested in customizing this information to your specific organization. And so I'll be happy to coach people on this topic. Now, if you want to get this information, you should go to the link that I just shared. It's going to be tinyurl.com/DAEEVENT. So tinyurl.com/DAEEVENT. And so just put your information there, and I'll send you the information, the PowerPoint slides, copy of my book that Matt mentioned at the beginning, and also give you the free coaching session. So, you prompting knowledge basic, you want to have some prompt engineering skills and AI tool knowledge. Then process gaps, you want to address that for process integration and fear of replacement and black box anxiety. So trust in AI outputs, that's a black box anxiety. So you need to work with the AI and learn how it functions. Fear of job loss. I've seen that in associations and I'm frankly confused by it. So when I work with companies, and I work with companies as well, that's much more justified, fear of job loss. But with associations, that fear is really quite misplaced because when I work with associations, what tends to happen practically the large majority of associations don't have thoroughly deep reach into their potential membership. So your industry is typically much larger than the percentage of industry professionals who are members of your association. So when associations start using AI more effectively, it's not like they're certainly grow more efficient, meaning using less resources to do the same things, but those resources are redeployed toward improving recruitment and retention of members. And so you're just reaching deeper into your membership base, potential membership base, prospective membership base. So the fear of job loss for associations is quite misplaced. I see, like that's my experience. For companies, it's not so misplaced because with companies, they tend to be competitive with other companies in their markets. And so they have to either take market share away from other companies or they fire employees. And so when they grow more efficient, if they can't take market share. So they try to take market share. If they're not successful, they would fire employees and replace them with AI tools. Yes, definitely happens. But for associations, I really haven't seen it happen. I've seen what happens with associations is that they just increase their appeal to members, to the industry professional base. Okay, so let's talk about a staff sentiment probe. Use this prompt to create survey questions to reveal employee attitudes toward AI. So draft 5 survey questions that reveal fear, excitement, and training needs about generative AI using a 5-point Likert scale plus open-ended questions. So here's the question prompt that you put into the AI tool. And here is the here are the questions that it drafts for you to send to your staff. So strongly disagree to strongly agree. That's a scale. Question one. I'm optimistic that generative AI will significantly increase my productivity and allow me to focus on higher value tasks. And you see if people agree or disagree. Number two, I'm concerned that the rapid adoption of generative AI could diminish the value of my specific expertise or lead to job displacement within my field. Good. Oh, and this is all sent to association staff, by the way, just to be super clear. And so on. All of these questions are going to be of relevance to gauging your staff sentiments. And then open-ended questions. Implementation recognitions, segmentation, contextual note, so giving you some ideas. And it can also draft your promotional email to members explaining the importance of this survey, staff here. Next, step 3, prioritizing use cases. Select the most valuable based on high impact, low risk, and quick wins. So what you want to do is have this impact risk matrix. Low risk, medium risk, high risk, low impact, medium impact, high impact. And of course, what you want to prioritize is low risk, high impact activities. So like personalized event picks, automated CE certificates, AI assisted article drafts, those can be good examples of what you would find to be good impact and low risk. So here's an impact risk matrix creator. Use this prompt to prioritize AI projects based on impact and risk. So using the prompt about AI opportunities earlier, which we talked about, create a list of top 10 candidates AI projects with cost and benefit scores. Place each project in a 2x2 matrix. Return a markdown table. And so here is the markdown table with a matrix. Low risk, high impact. Personalized onboarding, AI meeting minutes, AI curated newsletter. High risk. Predictive churn modeling, lookalike prospecting, personalized LMS paths. This is going to be a little bit more complex because of their potential. Utilities are going to be low impact but low risk, like social media generation, membership match bot. Caution zone, low impact and high risk. Don't do this. Automated credential OCR, grant contract drafter. And so here you describe the top 10 candidate AI projects. Benefit with cost and so on. AI meeting minutes, very cheap, personalized onboarding, great benefits, but more cost. AI curated newsletter, that's great for email content, so CTR and relevance. That's going to be, the benefit is 8, not high cost. Predictive churn modeling, so this is going to be definitely higher cost, but lots of benefits. And so you can go through all of these and evaluate where you want to use AI tools. So, flag risks and mitigations, data privacy, high risk projects, explaining why they're high risk, hallucination factor for credential OCR, contract drafter, AI should only produce a first pass, member trust. So this is important too, of course. All right, let's talk about data governance. So establishing proper data handling protocols, you want to do that to ensure legal compliance, ethical data AI use. So here is something that you want to align with NIST AI risk management framework and ISO 42001. And here are some examples of data sensitivity tiers that you want to use. Here is the prompt of data sensitivity classifier. Consider the top 10 projects that we just discussed. Evaluate the risks for any personal or proprietary data and assign a handling tier. Public, internal, confidential, or restricted. So here are the tiers. And here are the project. AI meeting minutes is going to be confidential. Personalized onboarding is going to be internal. AI curated newsletter is internal. Predictive churn is going to be high risk because it contains financial health indicators, specific personally identifiable information, so restricted. Membership match bot, it's fine to have public, and so on. So for each of these, it will go through here. Automated credential OCR, critical risk of high concentration of identity theft ready, personally identifiable information. So those are all the risks that you want to consider. And using this association management assistant tool customized to your specific association, you will be able to answer these questions, not just more generically, which this tool is already quite valuable to answer these questions generically, but to actually give you specific responses to your association customized to your needs. Leakage rule and so on. Okay, launching pilots. You want a focused AI pilot with clear goals, metrics, and timelines. So for example, AI generated continuing education certificates for one education unit with goals of less than 24 hours turnaround, less than 1% error, and a 90-day window, with weekly retrospectives updating the playbook. So here are some examples of these pilot charter writer and personalized event picks. So prompt 5, I'll show 2 prompts at a time. Create a one-page charter for a pilot that tests AI-generated series certificates. Include goal, scope, success metrics, and timeline owner. And then personalized event picks as part of this process. Act as a member experience assistant using 3 typical member profiles for an association for accountants. So I was working with an association of accountants. Suggest 3 upcoming events that match interests, career stage, and location. Justify each suggestion. The result is that event click-throughs rose from a lot over this period. So let's take a look at this. Create a one-page charter for a pilot that tests AI-generated CE certificates. So here's the charter. Project goal to reduce the administrative time spent on manual certification creation and delivery by 80% while maintaining just as much as accuracy. This was not 100%. This was a human rate accuracy of 100%, meaning humans were making some mistakes too. So considering that. The pilot will test the feasibility of using AI to parse webinar attendance logs and auto-populate branded PDF certificates, which is great. What's in scope? What are 3 upcoming webinars, out of scope, historical backlogs, success metrics, processing time, and so on. Implementation timeline with a 4-week sprint. project governance, talking about who is going to be governing each part of the project, risk flag of data integrity, of course, so I need to consider that, and next steps. So that was prompt 5. Here is next prompt 6 that I showed you. Act as a member experience assistant using free typical member profiles for association for accountants. So one is the emerging professional, and then recommended event, the Chicago New Accountant Social and Licensure Workshop. Alex is in the critical make or break phase of his career as a young staff auditor at a mid-market firm. Alex, his major hub in Chicago, an in-person mixer combined with a tactical workshop and the latest CPA exam. Changes provides the dual value of professional development and social belonging. So here, this is obviously helpful for someone like Alex. The Tech Forward Controller, so H42 Corporate Controller, recommended event, the AI-driven audit, a 3-part virtual masterclass series. Sarah operates in a high-growth environment where her time is her most scarce resource, making a remote modular masterclass ideal, and so on. Finally, the legacy partner, so someone who's 61, managing partner at a regional tax practice. And for him, the recommended event is the Southwest Executive Leadership and Succession Retreat, because he's entering the legacy phase of his career, where his primary concern are the valuation of his firm and the identification of his successor. And so here you can see how an AI tool can use this information. So what you would do is you would connect your CRM or your AMS, whichever you're using for your members, to actually you connect it with an AI tool, connect it with an LMS, and so you go through all of your members using the AI tool, and the AI tool can help identify recommend the best events for different people based on their demographics and likely interests, and then can draft an automated, customized email to each of them explaining why you're recommending this to them. And believe me, such emails get much higher click-through rates and registrations. So this is great for both providing value to members and generating higher revenue for you. Okay, let's talk about measurements. Tracking meaningful metrics: efficiency, member value, revenue, brand authority. Efficiency. So for example, certificates processed per full-time equivalent hour, net promoter score, event clicks for member value, revenue, of course, micro-credentialing sales, better sponsorship, brand authority with external mentions and so on. So here is the 30, 60, 90 roadmap and support. In the 30 days that I'll send you an AI implementation readiness assessment, and you want to appoint a governance lead, rank use cases, draft data policy, and approve a pilot charter, launch the pilot and review KPIs, prepare a board update. Accelerators are going to be C-suite support, cross-functional Tiger team, microlearning, and peer mentoring. The pitfalls is treating AI as an IT only, over customizing too soon, and ignoring data hygiene. I can't stress treating AI as an IT only tool. This is a big, big problem I've seen with associations time and again, treating AI as an IT only tool. Why is this a problem? Well, the thing is about AI that it's much more a tool like Excel or like word processing or like a CRM that is not dependent on IT. You can learn how to use AI tools. I showed you the backend of an AI tool that you can develop and customize to your association. It's not rocket science, in other words. So I'll be happy to send you some resources after the presentation for tools. So you want to go to tinyurl.com/DAE event. I'm not sure why the AI appeared there. So just DAE event, ignore the AI. I think that was a typo I made. So just tinyurl.com/DAE-EVENT. And especially if you're watching this as a recording. So if you want these resources, tinyurl.com/DAE event. And you'll get the AI implementation readiness assessment, a copy of my slides, and a copy of my best-selling book, ChatGPT for Leaders and Content Creators, and a free consulting call on implementing AI in your association. So I might mention that. Okay, you can put questions into the chat, but right now let me show you a couple of more tools that I think will be of relevance and interest to you. Okay, not this one. Yes, this one. So let's talk about customizing emails to your members. How do you customize an email to your members? Now, I'm not signed into any of my clients right now, so I wouldn't be able to show this data because it's proprietary, but this data is not proprietary. So I do a lot of presentations for associations of various sorts. And as you know, associations list speakers' contact info on their website, meaning contact information for those who should be contacted in order for speakers to reach out to them, because associations need speakers all the time. And so this is a tool that goes through a website and looks at who is listed as the speaker contact, saying, oh, contact this person or this person or this person if you want to speak for the association. And it puts them in this spreadsheet. So here is providing information, name, email, title, affiliation, LinkedIn, Columbus, website. And so this is the kind of information that this tool just takes from websites, but you don't need to worry about that part because this is going to be think of this as going for your members. So this tool would be something that your members, or you would already have all of this information: first name, last name, email, title, affiliation, LinkedIn, their city. So you don't even need to worry about that part. In fact, you have a lot more information on each person. Then, what does this tool do? So this tool then researches this person using all this information and their association, and then creates a customized email pitch offering my presentation services. For associations, this would be instead customized to, let's say, offer them a workshop, or make sure that or to improve a personalization for a retention email saying, hey, you've attended these workshops and it seems like you gave high scores to these folks, if you have their scores, but whatever. You attended these workshops, you've gotten these benefits, and here are the kind of benefits that you can expect next year. So please make sure to renew your subscription. So let's take a look at what this tool came up with. You have a lot more information. You can customize this a lot more. But this is just based on publicly available information about a speaking opportunity for these associations. So here's AIA Columbus, which is the Architects Institute of Columbus chapter. This is the email subject that the AI tool came up with. AI Columbus Strategic AI Innovation for Architects. Now, prior to using this AI tool, I would just send this person, Elizabeth Ryle, I would send her an email saying, hey, would a strategic AI innovation presentation for your association? Obviously, much more generic, much less likely to get a response. So here, instead, the email is going to be something that's much less generic, much more likely for people to actually open it. When they open it, this is the first sentence that they see. So this is the icebreaker sentence. And it says, your collaborative leadership approach with diverse teams perfectly positions AI Columbus to guide members for building custom AI solutions. So clearly they have something on their website about a collaborative leadership approach with diverse teams. Great. And so that would resonate with her, that would let her know that, hey, this is not just a generic email, this was customized. To me, this is someone who looked up the website and did some research. And here's a LinkedIn pitch using a LinkedIn automation tool. Hi, Elizabeth. Given AA Columbus's visionary mission to provide resources for architects to design a better world, and so on. So obviously customized to her. And so this would be the LinkedIn pitch that I would extend to her. Then there would be several more emails, just in case you didn't get the first one. A Columbus member resources expansion with AI. Given your focus on creating strategic plans to meet organizational missions, I want to make sure that you don't miss the chance to equip members with practical AI building permissions. Or another one, for a group like AA prioritizing advocacy and leadership resources for architects, a build your own AI approach is safer than generic tools. And so let's take a look at how this actually looks in an email. So here is how it looks in an email. AI value for AA Columbus members. Your mission to provide advocacy, leadership, and resources to architects require equipping members with practical AI strategies rather than letting them struggle with expensive tools. Great. Now, how was this built? So I mentioned NA10 is the tool here. So this is going beyond the basic use of AI. This is putting AI in connection with Google Spreadsheets and with a research tool. So here's what it looks like. You put the information that I researched earlier into a spreadsheet. Then it goes to a research tool called Brave Research. This is just like Google, except a little bit cheaper. It searches for the person's name, LinkedIn profile, and so on, plus the words mission, strategic plan, news updates 2025, 2026, and comes up with a 200-word snippet of a research information. And it puts that into an AI tool. Here I'm using Claude Anthropic, which is one of the 4 tools that I recommended that you use. And here is the backend of the tool, the system prompt. You're a strategic communication expert. Your job is to write a 5 email outreach sequence with subject lines and icebreakers plus a LinkedIn pitch. The critical input data is the 200-word research snippet using Brave, plus all of their demographic information. And I give it instructions to avoid forbidden phrases like radio silence, you must be busy, just checking in, like generic phrases that is not helpful. Instead, dive straight into a specific observation from the research. Every subject line has to have this information. And so, as you can see, this is not rocket science. And the previous example I showed you wasn't rocket science either. This just takes a combination of knowledge, which you can upload or you can convey from a research tool like Brave, plus the right instructions for how the system should function. That's called the system prompt. And so, and like I said, I'll be happy to provide resources for this. So you'll want to go to tinyurl.com/DAEEVENT. Ignore AI, not necessary for this one. tinyurl.com/DAEEVENT. Also, and this is going to be for people who are here on the recording, you can also vote in this poll who are here for folks who are here live. So please go ahead and vote if you would like to get these resources by email. And the people who are watching this as a recording, you won't be able to vote in the poll. So go to tinyurl.com/DAEEVENT to get these resources. And I'll put it into the chat once again for folks. So tinyurl.com/DAEEVENT. Okay, I'll be happy to take any questions at this stage. And there was somebody asks, I'm assuming an association could do that in reverse. An association can send out an email looking for a speaker on a specific subject matter, like a call for presentations. Absolutely. Yeah, you can definitely do that, and you can customize it to the speakers based on their background and profiles. Other questions? So concerns about staff resistance due to sustainability and environmental impact. So in terms of sustainability and environmental impact, AI has greatly reduced its usage of electricity. So right now, Google, let's say, using Gemini is not going to be much more than using a Google search in terms of electricity and water impact. And so people's concerns were more valid in 2022 and 2023 about sustainability and environmental impact. But right now, AI is way more efficient than it used to be. And the environmental and water concerns are just not realistic. Like data centers right now take up something like around consume, they can, in terms of consumptive supply, like actually consuming the water that they use instead of using the water to cool their generators and putting it back into the reservoirs, which is fine because it doesn't get dirty. It's not like industrial pollution. Their consumptive water use is something like 0.2% of American water use compared to agriculture, which is like something like 60%, I want to say. So basically, you want to handle this through helping staff understand that their concerns in 2026 are not really based on the data anymore. So Heidi asks, is it a better use of time and effort to look at these supplemental tools built outside of an AMS or to look for an AMS that supplies these features for you? Definitely outside of an AMS. AMS is going to be very limited in what it provides because it's not an AI expert. Whereas a company that, well, the four companies that I mentioned above, the Gemini, Google Gemini, ChatGPT, OpenAI, Microsoft Copilot, and Anthropic Claude, they are AI experts, and you'll be getting a solution that's so much more intelligent than anything that an AMS can provide, and that the AMS is going to essentially not be able to provide you with nearly as intelligent and flexible tool. It's going to be just customized to that AMS. So I don't recommend just going with an AMS that gets these features. I recommend having them built and building them yourselves and connecting it yourselves. It's really not that hard. I showed you essentially the NA10 tool as an example. You can connect that NA10 tool, instead of connecting it to a Google Sheet, you could connect it to an AMS. So that first prompt, that first node action that says Google Sheets, you can connect it to your whatever AMS you use or whatever CRM you use. Just connect it to that, and you'll get much better, more controlled results in a much more flexible way. Tanya, great. I'm glad that you appreciate the webinar. Excellent. Other folks, other questions and comments? Still have about 8 minutes or 7 minutes. So AI, okay, so in terms of private data, with Client Info, this is not a concern for tools that are business tools. So if you're using a tool like the enterprise, like the business version of any of these tools, business version of Gemini, business version of Copilot, business version of ChatGPT, OpenAI, business version of Anthropic, they do not train on that data. So using that data is just as, you're using Outlook, right? It's just as secure as having your data in Outlook or Dropbox or Google Drive. If you're using Gemini, which is Google, there's no difference in that data being in Google Drive versus that data being in Gemini if you're using a business version. So the business version is something that they don't train on. That's part of their terms of service, and they have a great deal of money riding on it not being used. Yeah, it's different than the monthly paid tier. So the business version of AI, you asked about ChatGPT. Pricing plans. Let's take a look at this. So here is the business version. A secure collaborative workspace for startups and growing businesses. This is 25 per user per month, minimum of 2 seats, and yeah, support for compliance with GDPR, CPA, other privacy laws, and so on. So there's going to be completely secure. This is not something you have to worry about. Encryption and training in transit, not training on your business data by default. You can learn more. This is all going to be highly, highly secure. So you don't have to worry about this. But yes, it's going to be 25 per user per month, billed annually with a minimum of 2 users. Oh yeah, client data is great. I mean, all of my associations that I work with, they all use these tools. Like I said, Google Gemini, Anthropic, but as long as they use the business version. So you have to specifically look at for each one that you choose, Claude, Anthropic, whatever, look at the business version, and they will have similar terms. Okay, 4 more minutes. Any more questions? So someone asks, is an AI tool good to use for fiduciary tasks like budgets? No, it's not good for budgets. It's good for interpreting budgets. But AI is not by itself good for math. So for math, you want to use a tool like QuickBooks or any other budgeting software if you're actually looking at formulating a budget. If you're looking at interpreting a budget, AI is great. So it does textual interpretation of budgets very well, but it's not going to be as precise in numbers in math. It will make some mistakes. So it's not there yet for using for budget tool for budgeting. Other folks, other questions? Give you 10 more seconds to share any questions that you might have. Okay, it doesn't look like there are any more questions. So again, if you want to get the resources, if you're live, you should have voted in the poll. If you haven't voted in the poll, and if you're not live, you should go to tinyurl.com/DAEEVENT. So that's what's on the screen for free post-training resources, except you can skip the AI at the end. tinyurl.com/DAEEVENT. And I'll be happy to send you the AI implementation readiness assessment, a copy of the slides, a copy of my best-selling book, and have a free consulting call on implementing AI in your association. All right, everyone. I hope you found this helpful.
Okay, Dr. Gleb, thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us today. A very informative presentation. And of course, I want to thank everyone for joining us. After today's program, our live attendees will receive an email to complete a program evaluation in addition to getting your certificate for CAE credit if applicable. Please complete that evaluation as it gives us valuable feedback for future programs. Our next live webinar is called From Strategy to Action, Building Your Association's Playbook for Alignment and Accountability. That happens on Tuesday, February 17th, and you can register for that and other upcoming programs from your state association's website. Thanks again, and have a wonderful rest of your day.